We have a special guest today. You are here in the building, and honestly, the first thing that we do is we allow our guests to introduce themselves. And I guess my question to you is, if nobody knew who you were, right? Pretend nobody knows who you were or who you are, and you wanted to explain what you do, how you do it, the type of person you are. Like, what would that look like for the world? Like, how would you introduce yourself? Because I can introduce you, but I feel like you would do yourself justice, way more justice than I can.
All right. Well, my name's Aitza, and I help people bridge the gap between their money and their mindset. And I'm a builder, so I help you tell me your mission. I'm going to help you build it. So that's kind of what I do for my friends and family, and for businesses and people in their personal finances.
Yeah. What got you into that space particularly?
So I think for me, it was my own struggle with money. Growing up, I didn't know a lot about finances. All I knew is we can't, we're not turn off all the lights. We don't live on welfare anymore, or we're not going to turn on the heat. Yeah, I'm from Connecticut, so it gets cold in the winter. So that's kind of how I grew up. And just always knowing that we had to figure out the finances for this week, for right now, and never the conversations about the future. And so when it came to the future of going to college, that wasn't even a conversation for me. So my actions reflected that. And my guidance counselor, she's the one that kind of pulled me aside. She brought up the college conversation. I laughed. I'm always very transparent about that. I'm like, how am I gonna go to college? There's no money for that. But she introduced me to the world of scholarships, and that completely changed my life. Like, I did a 180, started getting into AP classes, honors classes in school. Like, everything changed. And I got a full ride to school. And I think at that moment I decided that one day I'm going to start something to help, especially Black and brown communities, know the resources that are available to them that maybe just didn't know about because no one ahead of us had access to them.
Hey, what's up, y'all? Amari here. I know you're watching the episode, and I'm sure you're probably tuned in, but I just have one request. We have one request, and that is that you subscribe to our channel. Subscribe to this YouTube video because, number one, we want to make sure that you're alerted whenever we come out with the next episode and the next episode. And then also, we want to make sure that we continue to have high-quality guests, continue to have high-quality conversations, and that'll happen if you subscribe, which will bring the traffic to our page. So we're excited about it, and get back to the episode. I want to talk about that, right? So what's funny is that, first of all, congratulations on that story. What's funny is that when I was in college, my mom had me at 14 years old, and she had me young, and one of my things was not getting into debt, right? By going through college. And I told my mom when I was like 17, I was like, listen, if I don't get a scholarship to go to school, whether it be academics or basketball, then I'm not going. Because I don't want to go into debt, and I don't want you to have to go into debt after all this hard work that you put in. And so, I believe that, like, even though you talked about getting scholarships and things of that nature, I think I don't know the particular stat, but most scholarships that are out there don't even get applied to. For kids that are in college, especially people that look like us, come from where we come from. So,
right.
I think that's very important. And I want to ask you, what is your idea on college? Like, you think people should go, should not go? You think they should go if they get a scholarship? What does that look like for you?
Yeah, I think, honestly, I do obviously believe in higher education, but I don't think that's the path for everyone. That's okay. Like, my dad owned a construction company. My brother's an electrician. So I actually come from a family where a lot of people are in trades. So I think if that's where your skill set is, if that's where your interest is, then pursue that, because you don't want to go to school because someone told you to, or they are outlining a career for you. Now you are racking up debt depending on what you're studying or what type of school you're going to. And it's not really in your heart, because I believe that eventually you're just going to circle back to what's been on your heart. So I've always had an entrepreneurship heart now that I realize it. So I went to school. It definitely did help me. But what if I would have went a different path at the beginning? So I think it's really up to you. Like, don't let people steer you, because you might be a tradesman. Yeah. There's going to be an electrician shortage, a plumbing shortage. Those jobs are going to be able to name their price.
It's crazy. Even in this AI space, they said that, like, there was a guy, I forget his name, but they were saying that, he was saying that we need more plumbers, more like electricians. And the person was like, well, how many do you guys need in your trades? Like, over 500,000.
Yes.
Because of AI, because of everybody wants to be an entrepreneur, because everybody wants to go digital. He's saying that these trades are like, we need these trades. People are not applying for these trades. And honestly, those people are going to probably eventually make more money than people who are doing the digital stuff or being traditional entrepreneurs. And so I think that's important to know. And I think, and this is my theory.
Okay.
I believe that the further we go into this AI field, the further we go into this automation field, into this super intelligence field, the more we need to be knowledgeable about, like, doomsday type activities, which are, you need to know how to, operate a car, right? You need to know how to survive. You need to know how to do plumbing work. You need to know how to do electrician work.
Yeah.
And it became even more evident because the truck that I drive, it's a Tahoe, 2021 Tahoe, right?
Yeah.
It's like our family car, our family truck. And we had to take it to the mechanic to get fixed.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy was like, man, these electric cars nowadays are just so hard to fix because there's so many electrics. It's like sometimes it's even better just to have an older car because it's easier to fix.
Yeah.
And there's less things that are happening because there's less electronics in it.
Yeah.
You know, and so I do believe that we need to also be like more knowledgeable about kind of how to survive in a space where, you know, how to do non-AI things.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, there's doomsday and you have to go get on a sailboat, right? Don't get on a gas boat, get a sailboat. Do you know how to, I don't know how to maneuver a sailboat, but I always think about that. Like, I should learn how to drive a sailboat because in case I need to get out and out of the country, how are we going to do that?
No, 100%. No, I agree with that. I agree with that.
Yeah.
All right, so you talked about, you know, how you got involved. You know, let me ask you this question. You know, if you can go back 10 years ago from today, knowing what you know now, like, what would you tell yourself?
Okay, I think if I knew what I knew now, I would advance AI.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, I definitely think I would be more bold in my decisions. So I think I played it safe for a long time because I figured I need to maneuver my own finances and also like help out my family. But just how on the airline says you got to put your gas mask on, your air mask first. Like I think I needed to focus on that more, and be a bit more bold in my moves. And then, I also spent a lot of time, like through college, I worked a lot. So I was always thinking the same thing. Like I need to make sure I have enough money set aside. I have to pay down because even though I have a full tuition ride, I still have to pay for room and board. And so I think I would have lived a little more and kind of had more of those experiences. So I think you're always going to be working if you just keep putting your head down and working hard versus like living for experiences, connecting more with people. So I think I would have done more of that, honestly.
That's good. That's a great answer.
Yeah.
So you talked about bridging the gap. Like, what does that mean? You bridge the gap between, you know, what'd you say again? You bridge the gap between what?
Oh, mindset and money.
Yeah. How do you put that together? So if I came to you and I was like, hey, look, Aitza, I love what you do. I need you to help me bridge the gap. What does that look like?
Yeah, so I think the first thing is to find out what do you think and feel around when it comes to finances. So a lot of people don't realize that our behaviors, they actually start when we're kids. And so there's things that you pick up on from the comments that are said around you or just even seeing the reactions of people around you. And you start to believe in those, like you set what I call money scripts in your mind. So these beliefs around building wealth. So for example, if you had a parent that was a big spender, you might also be a big spender, or you'll be the opposite. So you'll be a big saver, and that way you're too afraid to take risks like getting into investments. So really to kind of unpack those beliefs that are holding you back and then working through that so that you can identify them. Now, I'm not a therapist. I highly recommend therapy for those who haven't tried it, but at least you'll have a baseline of, hey, here are the behaviors that I see. This is how it made me feel. And then you compare them to where you are right now and how you're either living that same life or doing the extreme opposite that's also hindering you. And from there, we could work on a plan to kind of move past that. It takes time. And then, of course, I was an auditor by background. So now auditing your finances, seeing where you're actually spending your money, that comes into play. But I think the mindset is the biggest thing. Because if you don't tackle that, I could give you all the systems and all the tools, but you're going to keep going back to what you believe.
So what is the mindset that you would implement into somebody's mind?
So I think what I would help them implement or help them see is that money is truly limitless. So I think society wants us to think there's a cap, right? There's a cap on money, or money is the end all be all. So when people ask, oh, what do you want? I want to be a millionaire. I want to be rich. I want to be this. But if you really go back to what their true vision is, like I want to be able to take care of my parents when they get sick, when I get older. I want to be able to travel and see more cultures. Like whatever that purpose or vision you have in your own life, I'd help them get to that piece because that's going to help you continue on with your financial goals. If not, you're always going to be chasing a number. Money could just disappear tomorrow and then you're going to be living an unfulfilled life. So what did it matter if you racked up all this money, but you don't have the time? So I kind of help them get to that mindset that there's a purpose beyond the dollar sign. And that's what you really need to be moving towards. Money just helps you get there, but you need to have that vision first.
How do you do that when a lot of people in today's society, you know, it's a thing where, you know, or number one, you need money, right? You need money to live. You know, it took some type of money to get here, whether it was gas or, you know, it took money to get, you know, some of the equipment in here and all this good stuff. So because money is such like a driving force in today's society, you know, how would you argue versus how can you tell somebody that money isn't the thing? Like, how do you even do that?
That's that is not the thing. You need money, right? But I want you to go beyond that. Like, what is the key that you want to build? So we're here in this podcast studio. So if you dream of helping people communicate their message, You want to help people share their thoughts and ideas. That's the purpose. Now you have to figure out, okay, well, how much is it going to cost for me to rent this space, to buy this furniture? And then from there, you start to strategize, well, how am I going to get the wealth? Right. So number one, I think you need to have multiple income streams. One is none. I tell people all the time, one is none. And so when you understand your vision, then you work your way backwards. So what do I need to get to that vision? And then you start building the path for money. But if you're just chasing money and you don't have a clear line of sight of what do you want to do with this at the end of the road, you're always going to be chasing money, and you're probably going to look back at life 10, 20 years down the road and say, wow, I really wish I would have did X, Y, and Z. That's what I'm trying to say. Work your way backwards.
You just said that, you have multiple income streams, but I hear a lot of people kind of like changing that right now, right? They're saying that, you got to focus on one thing. But what is your contrast between that?
So you can focus on one thing and still be bringing different income streams. So when you're investing, you start investing your money is growing and it's gaining in value. That's income that you're growing, right? That's a piece of wealth that you're building. Even things people don't realize, like the savings account on your high yield savings, that's a stream of income, like the interest that you're earning. So you don't technically have to do multiple different things. You could also scale on what you already have. So if you have a certain skill set, let's say, again, this podcast studio. So you obviously built the studio. So now you can put something together, a digital product, to tell someone else how to build studios in their locations. You can mentor or have a program helping people build digital studios. You could franchise your studio, and now other people are mimicking your model and you're getting paid from that. So you can take your one thing and then find different ways to communicate it out and to build wealth in that way.
So I have a question, right? And, if somebody had to do a quick audit, right? If you had someone do a quick audit, what would be the first thing that you had them look at?
So I would have them audit of their financials.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah. So if I had someone do a quick audit, I would literally get all the data from all their spending accounts. So, which is what my clients do. So they'll take, and when I say spend, I mean your checking account, your savings, if you're pulling money out of your savings, your credit cards, all of that together. And then we'll actually go through and see, like, where are you actually spending your money? And we categorize each one. The thing that people struggle with, they don't have clarity. So they think they're spending, X number of dollars here and there, but they have to actually sit and like go through it. So you can start with 30 days, like go back to 30 days. I like to say go back at least 3 months. I think it gives you a better idea, and then actually go through and see how you're spending your money. I've had clients who didn't realize they were spending $800 to $1,000, sometimes on just social outings monthly, right? Or $100 just on dinner. When I first moved to Miami and I did my own audit when I first moved, I was spending $300 to $400 just on Ubers and parking, because in Miami you have to pay for parking 24/7. So I think gaining that clarity, that's the first thing I would do. It's like, let's just sit down, even if it takes a week, and start seeing where your money is actually going. And then the second thing is, again, aligning that to their values. So I'll have to say, what are your values? What are your top values? Now let's look at how you're spending your money. Does that align with your values or not? Does that align with your goals or not? And if it doesn't, then where can we rework it? I don't like to say we have to sacrifice things. I think society wants us to think that budgeting and money management is about giving up things, but it's a calculation. And on the other side of that math problem, you're going to know exactly how much money you need to make to live the life that you want. So that's kind of what I would.
No, that's good. I think about that sometimes, man. I'm like, man, I'm spending money here, there.
Yeah.
And, do you know who Dave Ramsey is?
Yes.
Yeah. So I think, what you were talking about is kind of remind me of what he talks about, right? Mm-hmm. Being able to, like, okay, before you want to go out here and make $1 million or, 100,000 or whatever that looks like for you, you want to make sure that, if you have debt, you want to try your best to work off all of that debt, right? If you have, exorbitant spending habits, like you said, does these things align with your morals or where you want to be at, then you need to reduce those things. I think I do think that the less debt you do have, the less stress you have when it comes to making more money. So there's less pressure on you, so you can kind of freely do what you want to do. But I want to know your thoughts on that. Do you kind of agree with maybe his methods or the savings methods before you go and, make money, or even the credit card method? He hates credit cards. But I see a lot of people using credit cards in a way that benefits them. What are your thoughts on those things?
So I agree. So part of my story too, when I got my first, big girl job, I racked up a lot of debt. And I had a lot of shame because here I was working for one of the top 4 accounting firms, drowning in debt on the low. And every time someone met me, oh, you're an accountant, you must be so great with numbers. I was like, yeah, And so I had to deal with a lot of shame too. So I had to unpack, like, what was stemming from that shame? Why was I spending? And when I realized there was a lot of mindset things that were causing me to spend the way that I was, right? And so I do agree with some of his viewpoints. And You need to pay yourself first. So a lot of people are like, well, how can I even save or set money aside if I'm already living paycheck to paycheck or I'm already struggling financially? Well, it's because you're taking all your money and you're spending it somewhere. So take a piece of it and spend it on yourself by setting money aside. Because if not, when something happens, you're going to lean on those credit cards. Now, I don't think that credit cards are evil. I think that we have an addiction to cards, that society doesn't want us to know that we can actually leverage debt. We can leverage credit in a way that's helpful for us. So right now we're just depending on it to survive. So I think you should do both at the same time. So first start setting money aside for yourself. So if something happens, you might not have 100% of it, but you'll have a piece of it, right? But building that habit of prioritizing yourself and then start tackling the debt more heavily. Now, I have had clients where they're saving so much that they're owing on their credit cards. Sometimes we go over save. So I think there has to be a balance at the beginning. And then once you have a plan, you're kind of set on the road and you start to reduce your debt enough, then you can start maybe investing a piece of it. But I do think, especially depending on your age, you're kind of like tapping all three at the same time. So you invest a little bit, save some, but then prioritize and focus on paying off your debt. And that might mean that for a little while, don't use your cards. Because if not, you're going to be paying something off, but you're still going to be racking things up. That's why people sometimes think about doing debt consolidations. I think, again, that's okay if you have strong discipline. But if not, you're going to take a loan. You're going to pay off all your cards. Now you have this loan balance. But guess what? Now you have 5 cards with a 0 balance, and you might be tempted to use them. All right.
Somebody's calling. It's a client, y'all.
No, that's my go-to-sleep alarm.
Oh, really? Oh, I got you out past. You go to bed at 9 o'clock?
Because I like to wake up at 5.
Really?
Yeah.
9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3. You get 8 hours of sleep?
I try. I'm working on it.
Really? Wow.
Working on it.
I've been trying to do that for like 15 years. It hasn't worked out yet.
I'm working on it. It's hot in here.
Oh, you need the fan now?
Yeah, I need it.
You need the fan?
Yeah, it did. I don't know.
Right. That means the conversation is going well.
It's getting warm.
Right.
Okay.
So I have this stat here, right? And you were talking about credit cards.
Yeah.
And it says as of 2025, Americans owe over 1.3 trillion in credit card debt, right? And I have a few credit cards that I'm still trying to work out as well.
Yeah.
You know, the highest in history, you know. Do you think that credit cards are more of a trap or a tool for people?
I think that credit cards can be a tool for people, but you need to build a discipline around how to use your cards. Right now, we are in this kind of keeping up with the Joneses vibe. So we start leaning on our cards to pay for trips and do all the things. But guess what? You bought that trip on debt. And when you come back home, it's still there. Now you feel bad about it. So now you start to train your brain that, oh, I'm always going to be in debt, or I'm never going to get out of it, or what's the point? So you're training yourself to think that you're going to stay in this hole forever. So what does it matter? So I do think that you should take a pause on the cards so that you can bring it down to 0, work on the behaviors that you need, and then maybe use one to kind of take advantage of points. Like I have a card that gives me access to airport lounges. I like that. Like I don't want to be worrying about where am I going to be when I get to the airport. Right. So I do think they can be a tool, but you just might have an unhealthy relationship with them right now. But everything's on credit now. People are doing buy now, pay later for groceries, and they can't even afford to pay it back, right? Of course, there's other things that are going on in the world, but I think that we're just taught, like, just put it on a card, put it on a card. If you think about wealthy people leverage debt all the time. You don't get taxed on other people's money, right? So there's a strategy to using them. I just don't think we got taught how to use it in that way. We got taught to just use it for all the joyful things in life.
Yeah. I remember, right? And I remember when you talk about credit cards, when I first got a credit card, I was a senior in college. I was like 22 years old, 23 years old. And the first thing I did was I went to the marketplace at our school and I bought like $700 worth of like hoodies, shirts for my family.
Yeah.
And I think it was a Discover card, it had a $2,000 limit. Or maybe like $1,500. I think it was like $2,000. And I remember, like, I just did it, right?
Yeah.
And I would just like kind of pay the balance every month. But what I didn't realize is that it was hurting my credit score because of the utilization.
Yeah.
And so I remember back in about 2021 where I was finding like, okay, let me just, because I was paying the minimum payments for my credit cards.
Yeah.
I was like, let me try to pay them all off for at least like 30, 60 days. And let's just see what happens.
Yeah.
And I remember, so number one, I didn't have necessarily education behind, hey, you're going to get access to this. Let me show you how to use it, right? And I don't think it's a financial literacy issue. I think it's a financial practice issue. Because I think for the most part, most people know, right? Or when you're taught, you know, but I think it's the the practice of the thing. Like you said, your behaviors and your
Yeah.
mindset. And I remember once I started to take my credit seriously in like 2021, I was like, you know what? Instead of just paying the minimum payment, let me just pay the balance as much as I can. Just let it sit there for a few months. My credit score shot up. And then maybe like 90 days later, I applied for like 3 credit cards at one time, and I was able to get like, I think it was like $70, $100 worth of credit. And so I believe that like even the disciplinary, like we need to know, the information, but then also we need to be able to practice the information. And I do think it's a keeping up with the Joneses, especially where we live at.
Yeah.
And it's like, I've kind of adopted this principle is like, do I want to look good? Do I want to feel good? Right? Like for even like how I dress, right? I'm usually in all black or like I'm wearing this like black shirts, black pants. I got a rotation of 4 or 5 shoes. It's a call of the day because I know, I need to work on my discipline, even from my decisiveness on what I'm wearing.
Right.
And I hear this thing where it's, people that make a lot of money, one of the things that they decide to do is not think about even what they wear. And I think it's all principle based. And when it comes to credit cards, I think with the knowledge, but then also saying, hey, you don't have to use a credit card for real, if you don't want to, And so I just want to say I agree with you when it comes to learning the disciplines, of leveraging credit and whatnot.
Yeah, no, I think it's a behavior thing and it's a habit. Like we just have this habit of spending it. So when I coach my clients, I actually have them do this challenge of not using the card throughout the weeks that we're working together. And I've had people that at first it brings anxiety to them, right? They're thinking, oh my gosh, how am I not going to use my card? But at the end of it, they're like, I feel free. I don't have this burden or this urge to use it. And when they feel more empowered. Like, I decided to strategically, but I made sure I've had it all to like pay off. And so I do think it's a discipline thing. I do think it is a financial literacy thing as well. People aren't talking about it as much or not talking about these things. When they're teaching financial literacy in school, sometimes it's very high level. It's not actually on your day-to-day personal finances. And I also think it's where you grew up. People are taught things in different ways. So I do think it's a mix, but it's definitely a behavioral thing. And there's different strategies that you can take. So you, by applying for another credit card that with a higher balance, then you reduce that utilization rate because they're looking at your total credit as well. And sometimes things do ding your credit. So I had a friend who paid off their student loans. And when they paid off their student loans, their credit took a hit. And they were like, what's going on? And it's because now their credit mix changed. They don't have a loan. A loan is a fixed amount that they're going to pay off eventually versus a credit. Now they only had credit cards. So because of that, their credit score did take a hit and then it bounced back after a few months. But we were all like, why would that happen? Just because you paid off your student loan, do you think that's a great thing? But there's so many different factors that play into it. But I do think discipline is definitely one of them. And you mentioning having the same outfits. I was listening to something the other day. I said, I think Obama had 70. I think they said 70 of the same suit, like the same color, like type of suit, just so he didn't have to think about what to wear and like reduce that cognitive load on his mind. So I do agree with that sometimes we have to like remove things to create space.
Yeah, 100%. So, it's like, that's why I like...
You're doing the thing. You're like Obama.
But shout out Obama. I played Obama my senior year of high school in a play. Yeah, I remember his speech. And it was like a thing. But anyways, that's besides the point. The pictures are on Facebook somewhere. None of that. Yeah, I'm old enough to where I use Facebook. Facebook was a thing at one point before Instagram. Anyways, that's another point. But what I would say is that, and it's like even going to, I can use this example of going to public school versus like a school where you have to wear a uniform. Mm-hmm. I love going to schools that you have to wear a uniform because it makes it less, I don't have to think about what I'm wearing. Like when I went to school, all I had to think about was what color shirt am I going to wear? What color pants am I going to wear? And I guess what kind of shoes I'm going to wear. Yeah. And that took so much off of me, as just somebody who is playing sports, going to school, dealing with this, being a teenager, all these things. Yeah. And yeah, I just think about that. And so anyways.
I didn't have that luxury.
You went to public school?
Public school. It was nice. It was fun.
But you had to pick out what you're wearing every day.
You had to pick out what you're wearing every day. But it was also very interesting. We had like all types of people in our school, got to mix with everybody. So, yeah.
Yeah, if I went to public school, I would just wear basketball shorts every day.
I guess.
And like a shirt and a hoodie.
We did have some people that did that. And I'm from Connecticut. Like even in the winter, kids are wearing
I would wear like the same
I'm like,
sweats.
It's cold.
Yeah,
it's cold outside.
What are we doing? It's crazy. Talk about this. I remember when I was in high school, my freshman year of college, this is when like Michael Kors was like a big thing. Mm-hmm. So I had all the Michael Kors watches. Like I had we were sponsored by Adidas. So I had all the Adidas fits, everything. Like I had everything. I was that guy. Right. Yeah. And I remember going like maybe like a month into school, I was like, I'm seeing the same people every single day. Why am I trying to pick out something new to wear every day? And then so I just start wearing like the same thing, not the same thing, but like the same like shorts, shirts, my basketball stuff. And we had this Pell Grant, and we get this Pell Grant or every semester or every month or whatever, and this check from the school.
Yeah.
And like some of the kids would spend it on like 2 items, a Ferragamo belt and whatever it is. It's like a lot, like $500. Oh. And what I would do is I would go buy like 10 different items. I would get a double receipt, right? And I'll maybe keep 2 of the items, and then because you have to turn the receipt to the school, so they know you bought something, you used it. Yeah. So I would give that receipt to the school, and I would take the other receipt, and I would put all the money back and get my money back. I would return the items and get my money back.
Wow. But why did you even buy the stuff? The school wouldn't give you the money if you didn't use it?
Yeah, you had to use the money.
Oh, okay,
so what I'm saying is that I've been kind of like practicing this frugal thing for a while.
Got it.
Right? And I'm still trying to get good at it. So I like talking to you because now it's like affirming the things that I used to do back when I was even in college.
Yeah.
And so we would get a check, and some of the guys was, get a nice watch, or $500 is not that much money when one item is $300. Right. So I would just go to the store and get like 10 or 15 items that cost like $10, $15, $20. And then I would get a double receipt, and I would hand one of the receipts in to the school because they needed proof that I spent this $500 or
Miami
close to it.
Vibes.
And then what I would do is I would then like keep like 1 or 2 items, and then I would go and return the other items to the store, get my money back, and I can just have
right. You see, I feel like I guess they must have had a reason.
And
why
I'm not saying do that now. I'm not saying do that, but I'm just saying that's what I would do. And I'm talking about just practicing. Yeah. The frugalness and what you're talking about, the money management part. Yeah, and I wish I'm not sure what the terms were, but even me, like if that would happen, like you could have invested that money. You could have bought some stocks. Yeah, right? I don't know what the rules are, but that's something I wish, like if I knew more about investing and those when I was in college or even early in my career. I should have bought Bitcoin for sure. 100%, but I didn't find out until like a year later.
Yeah, we didn't know about these things.
Yeah, so it's all good. So let me ask you this question. So if somebody wanted to get involved in what it is that you're doing, right? First of all, let's talk about you. Did you just quit your job?
I did.
Well,
like in
congrats.
August.
Are we snapping for that? Are you good?
I don't know how to snap. I never learned, but I could do this.
Hold on, time out. Are you serious?
I'm just.
We gotta practice right now.
No, it's okay.
Try it.
No, it's okay.
It's okay.
I have very soft fingers. Nothing happens.
It's like a match and you can't.
No, there's no spark.
You know how to snap for real?
I really don't. Don't worry. I don't know how to whistle either.
Excuse me?
I know. It's really sad because my family has this this whistle call, and I can't do it. My dad's like, I failed you.
But yeah, for those people that are watching this and they want to know, hey, no, I don't want to get into that. I want to get into your job. Like, how did that happen? So let's explain. What did you do before? Like, what was your job specifically? Yeah. Were you working for somebody, or what would that look like? And what made you transition or want to transition?
Yeah, so my career background, so I'm a CPA. I specialize in financial statements and reporting. For those watching, not all CPAs specialize in tax.
Can you explain what that is?
Yeah, so I'm a certified public accountant, which means I studied accounting. I have a set number of hours working under a CPA myself. And it just means that I am held to a different standard when it comes to accounting work. And when I specialize in financial statements and reporting, so a lot of the bookkeeping, all the numbers, the financial statements that are being released by these public companies, that's my area of expertise. So I was an auditor for one of the big four for EY. And then there's other expertise that people go into. So normally people associate CPAs with taxation, but there's other specialties underneath that umbrella. It's kind of like a doctor that studies different things or focuses in different areas. So that's my professional background. And so before I left, I was actually working for one of the cruise lines in financial reporting. So it was interesting because when I was...
Which cruise line?
With her Carnival.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's good. I got a little thing where I get like 5% back from Carnival.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, so I was working for Carnival.
Shout out Carnival.
Yeah, shout out Carnival. Since 2021, and it was great. So I was working remotely for them. I had moved down to Miami from the EY practicing up north into the EY practice here, working in financial advisory. Then I went to Carnival. And in 2020, I got laid off. So when I got laid off, at that point, and again, bring back to the mindset. So when I first got that call, I went into panic mode. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm living in a new state with zero family. How am I going to pay my rent? Like, how am I going to live? How am I going to find a job? But then I was able to sit with that for just a few hours and then really check myself like, okay, what's the facts? Oh, the facts are I actually have enough money set aside. I actually don't need to work. When as an adult do I not have to work? and I'll be fine. And that was because I had spent years already working on my own debt, figuring out my own finances, setting money aside, all the things. And in that moment, when I was fine, I started doing free resume reviews and realized that people were really struggling financially. Like they didn't have money set aside. So I knew like I did have an Airbnb business, but again, it's the pandemic, so that's not even moving as well. And that I built to set money aside for my parents' retirement. So when I did get the job at Carnival, I was like, okay, I'm going to start building something different. Like I want to start coaching people on how they could be ready with their finances, how they can organize. So I started building my business while I was working at Carnival. So about a year after I started, I launched Strategies and Tea, and I kind of built that in the background. So one thing I always tell people is society, I know society's like, oh, just quit your job and do all the things. They kind of see that side of what happens. But I think your job is the first investor in your business. You're getting a steady paycheck depending on what you're doing. You have consistency. You might be knowing exactly how much you're going to get paid. This is the time for you to make the mistakes, to try out the different things. So that's kind of what I did. I had Turo at one point, all the things to kind of like get my financial house in further order. And then last year, I'm a Christian. So last year, I feel like God told me I was going to leave my job.
You can say that louder.
I'm a Christian.
There you go.
I know. I'm
a Christian. You
No.
can say that loud.
I know.
Yes, we believe in Jesus.
Yes, I believe in Jesus. And so I got kind of a word last year that I was gonna leave my job. And so at that moment I was like, oh, right now, God? So we got a email that we were returning to office, even though I was hired remotely. So I was returning to something new. And I started to really prepare myself to leave the job. And with that, actually, I felt I was disobedient, because I'd heard when you're delayed obedience is still disobedience.
That's a whole nother topic.
Whole nother topic.
Sheesh.
So I kind of dealt with that for a little bit over the past year, but I was preparing and planning, setting all the things in motion. I started tithing my business revenue at the start of this year. My business made like 3 times as much as it did in all of last year in the first half of the year. And then kind of got that date and I resigned. And then I realized that I wasn't actually in just delayed or disobedience. I think God was telling me I'm going to leave. It's time to prepare, like speed up the preparation. And yeah, so that's how we're here.
Well, congrats on that.
Yeah. Excited.
Yeah, so for those people that are watching this, right, what's maybe the most amount of money somebody can make doing what it is that you do, per se?
Yeah, so I think, so I'm a money coach for those, and I also provide accounting services. One of my clients is also a money coach, and they've made 6-figure months. So I think income is limitless. So I think it's really about how much are you willing to commit to what you're doing, how you're communicating to your audience, what's your rates and the demand. But I do think it's limitless. And because I have a client that's making that much, I know I can make that much and or more in a month because it's already been done. So what's there to stop me?
So you have a client that's doing like $1 million in revenue.
Yeah, pretty close.
What do you charge from that?
What do I charge from that? At least in my industry for the accounting services piece, we aim to be about 2% of their gross revenue is like where we price it. Of course, depending on the client, you might work some different things out. And sometimes it's about building that relationship. But in that next year, so like when we did I have someone on my team that specializes in tax, who is a CPA that specializes in tax, and we saved this person $38,000 in their tax bill just by strategizing what they're going to do moving forward. So then it like increases conversations for.
So you saved somebody $38,000 on their tax bill.
Yeah.
And how were you able to do that? If you don't mind me asking.
Well, so the CPA on my team, she kind of analyzed like how much are they contributing to their retirement, how much they're paying themselves, are they doing charitable donations? So she identified the different tax strategies that she could take advantage of, and from that was able to reduce the tax bill. And actually, for the client, it was paying themselves more. They didn't think like paying themselves more from their business they thought it would result in more taxes. It actually saved them money. So there are different tax strategies for that to save you as much as possible within the bounds of the tax code.
%. And what are some of the ways that you can monetize in your profession? So like, you talked about having multiple streams of income, right?
Oh, yes.
So now I just want to tie it back to, what are some of the different ways that you're monetizing in your area of expertise? Yeah.
So when I first started, I was doing private one-on-one coaching. But that's not very scalable, right? Because there's only a limited number of hours in a day.
Correct.
So one of the things that I did was I now moved into group coaching, and then I have different models based on what they want, right? So that's kind of a way that I was able to grow and scale because now I'm handling a group at the same time and also leveraging technology by recording some of my content and things like that, so it's more efficient. So that's one way. Another thing is a lot of partnerships and collaboration. So I actually get paid to speak. So I've spoken at corporate companies to help bring financial wellness as a benefit to their employees, really helping corporate employers realize that if your employees know how to manage their finances, you're going to have higher retention. You're going to have people that are probably showing up less stressed, less anxious at work. So kind of leveraging those collaborations with speaking. and also partnering with nonprofits in the area to give out grants to entrepreneurs. And then as a grant recipient, they get to work with me. I get paid by the nonprofit. The business owner gets the support that they need. And that also creates lead gen for the accounting side of my business. So their way, I help them with bookkeeping, cash flow strategy, and again, helping entrepreneurs realize that they need to understand their financials. Like they need to take ownership of that, helping them see how things correlate. So for example, if they're investing a lot of money in marketing, but their revenue's not moving, then there might be something off in their marketing. So those are the ways I've kind of monetized. And I'm launching a digital budget so that people can kind of use, if they aren't ready for coaching, they can start budgeting as well. Happy to give a 20% off to your people. You listen to the podcast. DM me the word secure. I got you.
Okay. You heard that?
Yeah. So now I'm moving into more like digital products and then hopefully a physical product in the future.
How are you marketing yourself, right? You are an entrepreneur, you are in business. What are the different methods that, you're marketing yourself and marketing your business so you can get those clients?
Yeah. So I'm mostly on Instagram right now. So I do a lot of my work on Instagram. I also have an email list. I think for those of you who are building something, it's all in the list.
Man.
Because Instagram could get shut down, but you own that list. Yes, it's all in the list. So building that out. And then a lot of word of mouth. So I've gotten some opportunities. Like this summer I spoke at FIU because I met someone last year, and that person who I met last year and I didn't speak to for months, they put my name in the hat when FIU was looking for a speaker. So I think networking, being like true to who you are, building genuine relationships. I think sometimes when entrepreneurs are building, they're just thinking about what can they get and not thinking about, well, how can they also give back to that person or to serve in a different way. And so that's kind of been helping me, my marketing in that word of mouth space, especially because I'm not from Miami. So I think building that network and that community here is very key. Because Miami is very, I think, very referral based. So if someone knows you, like a lot of the speaking opportunities I've gotten because I spoke somewhere else, they're like, oh, if you spoke for them, that means that you must be this, so come speak for us. So that's kind of helped me in that space. And I am I am about to hire a brand strategist to kind of help me tap into the LinkedIn space because I think a lot of the people that need my coaching and need my support who are high earners know that they don't have to be living paycheck to paycheck or drowning in debt. That's where they're in. So I'll be tapping into that space soon and getting support to do that. And I think it's okay to ask for help for all the business owners. Sometimes we want to do everything by ourselves, but I actually did a lot better when I started expanding my team, when I got a bookkeeper, when I got an assistant, when I got a social media person that does my content. So getting to a point where I can expand and then I can focus on the selling, the connection, the networking part of it.
Yeah. That's good. Yeah, I think that everybody, number one, should. I was having a conversation with somebody, a good friend of mine, and I was saying, whatever you're doing, I think they're releasing something in a couple of years or so next year. And I was like, whatever you're doing now, collect as many name, numbers, and emails as possible.
Yeah.
I think that's the most important thing anybody can do is collect names, numbers, and emails.
Yeah.
And it's because you just build your database. And when I look at the top social media platforms, right? Snapchat, TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. There's a few more, right? Threads, Twitter. The one thing they ask you, or the three things they ask you for is your name, your number, and your email. And those platforms are free. So I always say, number one, that is the ultimate goal, right? To create a database. Number two, I think that we should give as much value as possible. And I do think that we should give our best stuff away for free. And I believe that because people don't necessarily pay for information because you can go on YouTube or ChatGPT and learn anything you want. People pay for proximity. Yeah. So if you're giving people value for free, like if I give away, I don't know, how to start a podcast or whatever, or a PDF checklist on the things that you need, how to get guests on your podcast.
Yeah.
Then, and I give that away for free, then people are going to love that. And somebody goes and uses that and makes money from it. Well, guess what? Now they're going to be indebted to me. Not indebted, but they're going to feel hey, you helped me make money. Let me pay you so I can get closer to you so I can know more. And then and the last thing I would say is I think YouTube is one of the biggest things right now that, people can use. And there's a book by Gary Vee. It's called, did I tell you about it already?
You might have. I think the list is everything and definitely sharing your value. Go ahead. You got it?
Day Trading Attention. Oh. I think everybody in the world should read that book because it describes what it's like to post on each platform. You have to know what to post, how to post, when to post. You should not be afraid to post. You should post as much as you can because the only way you're going to get better is that if you post more, right?
Yeah.
Be known for something, right? And it's just a great book to read, but go ahead. I think that everybody should do that. Everybody should collect data. Everybody should give away the best stuff for free. Everybody should be on social media, and I would say focus on long form because if you focus on long form, you automatically have short form content. If you have short form content, you don't necessarily have long form content. And so I think that everybody should focus on long form. At least make one YouTube video a week at least with the knowledge that you have. You know, you can ask ChatGPT to ask questions for you. Just answer them on a long form video. But yeah.
I agree. I think also showing up, as you mentioned, like when I first started doing I do a weekly live stream on Wednesdays. I was very formal. I was terrified at the beginning. And I think imposter syndrome impacts you a lot. So I used to think like, oh, who's going to want me to coach them? Because at the time when I started my business, I still had debt. But I just came on honestly, like, hey, I'm not a millionaire telling you that I'm debt free and all the things, but I'm working towards it. Like I have my end in sight. And so I think that allowed people to really relate to me. Because like you mentioned, there's so many other people that do what you do online, on socials, but they want to see like it's you specifically, that proximity.
100%.
So they appreciated that I made things very easy to understand. I wasn't speaking about money in a way that was too complex, and they were watching my journey with me. And I think that was sort of attracted a lot of clients. And now I feel more comfortable, but I had to do it scared at the beginning, like posting more consistently, doing all the things. I do my live streams and I use that to make my reels. Because at the time, I'm working a full-time job, or I was working a full-time job building the business. I have time to do all the things. So I'm like, I'm going to make this long live stream and then use a AI to chop it up and then repurpose it. It might not be the prettiest thing, but hey, it's out there. So,
yeah, 100%. And I do believe in documenting your process. I think people want to see three things from anybody that they are following or they want to follow. They want to see, where you came from. Like, what's your story?
Yeah.
Like, when my mom tells that story about her having a kid at 14 years old, and she's speaking on stage and I'm recording her and she's like, hey, that 14-year-old kid is right there. Hey, stand up, Amari. He's 31 now.
Yeah.
That's inspiring. And people are like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Right? So people want to know where you came from. People want to know where you are, where you came from, and where do you see yourself going based on what you're doing. Yeah. And people just want to see the journey. It's like, we were just at church, right? And you were at church on Sunday, right?
Yeah.
You were there.
Yeah.
You were in my video.
I lead the team.
Did you like my video?
Did I like your video?
You didn't see my video?
I don't think I saw your video. I will like it. I will like it.
You in it? I don't think I tagged you though.
Oh, we'll see.
Yeah, I've only tagged 20 people.
I don't have my notifications on any apps outside of like my email.
I took them all off.
Yeah, these apps are owning our time. I was like, no, y'all don't pay me to own my time like that.
Man,
so
I
just
took all
messages,
my
phone,
off.
and email. That's it.
I don't even got my message. Right, but I was saying though, think about we're at church on Sunday. We just had a 10-year anniversary.
Yeah.
Right, and just imagine they didn't document the entire journey, but because they did, we were able to see from when he was a kid, when P. Rich was a kid, to now, and you're able to see the maturation journey. You're able to see, man, this is what 10 years looks like. This is what starting something looks like, for it to go from a baby to, to now it's growing, and now to look at where it is, where you have 8,000, 9,000, 10,000 people coming to church all across 4 locations. And I look at that and I'm like, man, everybody wants to know the origin story. Mm-hmm. Now, some people may have not been there the entire time, but what that does is it provides appreciation for people that are looking from the outside and say, man, this person, this woman, Aitza, has done all of these things to get to where she is, because there's no such thing as an overnight story, right? The overnight success story is the person that has been working for 5, 10, 15, 20 years, and then all of a sudden God says, you know what, it's your time, you're ready. And I think that everybody should document their journey. Everybody should give credence to, sharing their story to others, because people are inspired. People are inspired from where you came from. So I definitely believe in, documenting your journey and doing it scared. And Myron Golden says this the best. He says that you have to be bad at something long. You have to be bad at something long enough in order to be good at it fast enough.
Listen,
come on now. You're very knowledgeable about what you do.
Thank you.
So I guess my next question, right? As an entrepreneur, businesswoman, what is maybe 1 or 2 things you cannot leave your house without?
My phone.
Okay.
And sometimes my laptop, not gonna lie. I would say it's my phone. My phone and probably my laptop. Yeah.
And why?
Why? Well, because I'm usually getting calls, or I have to like communicate with my team. And one of the perks of being my own boss is that I could take my laptop, so I can take a meeting wherever I am, right? So I think it allows me to kind of do the things I need to do for life, do my internet errands, like one of my friends likes to say. I'll do my internet errands, but those 2 things kind of to stay connected with my team or things that are going on. So those are the 2 things that I need in my personal business. And if I'm speaking, my gimbal that I bought so that I can record myself while I'm speaking.
Yeah, you know, there's an organization called Trio. I was with a buddy of mine in Chicago like a
Mhm.
month ago. You know, there's an organization called Trio where they actually need speakers to speak to their students.
Hmm.
That may be something that you should look into. I had a meeting with them actually not like last week about, you know, speaking at some of their events, but you know, it's a great thing and they're always looking for speakers to come speak to their kids. So if you do have a book or if you have like a workbook, you should create a workbook maybe or something to where now you can teach the principles off of that book and then you could potentially be speaking in front of schools and they actually pay for that as well. Pay pretty good as well.
I'm definitely open to speak. When I mentioned I spoke with that for that public company or that public company for their employees, I put together a workbook. So I did a session on like financial literacy for every family, and we talked about from planning to have kids, like thinking about what does it look like to become a parent in terms of costs, IVF, all the things, to having the kids, and then to being the person in the middle that has to take care of elderly parents or a disabled child. And I put together work with them because you have a limited amount of time, so sometimes you can't, give them all the resources that you want them to have, but they can sit with it a little later and like kind of really digest their thoughts, really unpack things. So I do think that is helpful, but definitely would be open to teaching the kids.
No, for sure, for sure.
Yeah.
I have a question, right? If you had a chance maybe to ask or tell God anything, what would that look like? What would that be?
Ask or tell God anything? I would tell God that I'm sorry I didn't see him sometimes in the hard times, but like now looking back, I know he was there. So like I see that protection, all that love that I may have missed in the past. And so, yeah, I would kind of like apologize for like missing that in those moments and like thinking I could do things on my own. And I would thank him for like revealing to me like he was there with me the whole time. So like there's a story I tell people. There was a time where every time I saved money, something would happen catastrophic and my account would like go to negative and then it wouldn't go to negative, go to zero. And one day I was like, God, why is this happening? Like, why does this always happen? And then I realized that it was because once I had a certain amount of money set aside, I started to think, oh, I'm good because this money. And God was like, no, I'm your provider, not this money. So once I acknowledged that, it didn't happen anymore. So, yeah.
And
I felt like sharing that.
No, that was good. That's good
yeah,
stuff.
I just felt like that.
And how do you balance like being a Christian, you know, believing in Jesus with business and entrepreneurship?
Yeah, so I think I now have gone to the point of like God is the partner in my business. So I always ask him to use me like when I'm connecting with people because I'm speaking to people, because people are coming to me for coaching, even though like they might have different faiths. Like I want them to be able to see God's love like with how I speak to them or how I help them like unlock something. So I kind of see him as that, like that guy, like telling me, hey, like go this way or things are going to be okay or if doors are opening, be fine. So I used to be someone who something happened, I'd be like, oh my gosh, the world's ending. I'd overanalyze. I'd think about it. But now I found a lot of peace because God is really in my business. Even the things I put together, if something happens, I'm like, okay, God, then you must be redirecting me to something else. So like, thank you. So I think it's brought a lot of peace in my life. I talk about it sometimes I'm on a live stream. Like I'm very unapologetic about it. I was on a podcast actually last week, and the whole astrology thing came up, and it was like it became a thing. So I was like, oh, I'm a child of God. And it was a conversation like, did you really need to say that? Like, people like, why do people have to say that? Aren't we all children of God? I was like, yeah, but I'm working to move myself away from those labels. Right? And then afterwards, it starts coming like, oh, well, why? Right. So yeah, I just think like he's a partner in my business and he helps me get a lot of peace when I used to be very like, think about things way too much, way too deep sometimes.
No, that's true.
Yeah.
And you talk about peace. And I think that's the biggest thing for me, right? Because I do believe that you can be very abundant whether you believe in Jesus or not, right? Whether you believe in God or not. But what I do believe is that I believe that when you do start to believe in Jesus and you accept him as your Lord and Savior and you start to do your best to practice the principles, I think two things happen. Number one, you allow not only yourself to participate in the promise, but you allow the generations that come behind you to practice the principles. It's like kind of like Moses and how he was obedient in a way. He was obedient enough to where he was disobedient enough to not see the promised land, but he was obedient enough where God was like, I'm going to let your people see the promised land. But then also, I think it just brings a level of peace because no matter what happens on this earth, right? No matter if you're poor, if you're rich, like in the Bible, doesn't promise that you're going to be rich, doesn't promise that you're going to be poor, doesn't promise that you're going to be healthy or unhealthy.
Yeah.
Those aren't the promises. The promise is that, hey, if you believe in me, at the end of this life, you'll be alive, right? You'll be in heaven with me. You'll be with me in heaven with my Father, right? And I believe that brings a level of peace because at the end of the day, if you say you believe and you're really practicing those principles or trying your best to and being repentant in all these things and you're walking in community, it's like you have a level of peace over you that, you know what, God is going to provide
Yeah.
here. And even if he doesn't, I know what's waiting for me on the other side. And I think that's the biggest thing when it comes to Christianity, for me at least.
Yeah.
It's like it brings this level of peace over me where it's like, there's been times where like I just don't even know how, but I'm still here, right? That could be physical, that could be mental, that could be financial, that could be spiritual. You know, where I'm feeling like I'm falling. And then in the midnight hour, late in the midnight hour, I was gonna turn. In the midnight hour, boom, he comes through. Through a person, through a mechanism, through an idea, through a relationship, through community, whatever that looks like. So for me, it brings peace to my life.
Yeah, and what I was saying earlier too, like when I was like, God, I didn't see you in some of those hard times, but I always came out of it.
Right.
But now I'm like, now I know what it is. And because now I know what it was, I could walk in a more peaceful space. Because when I look back, I lost a lot of time dwelling on things, trying to fix things.
Talk about it.
Trying to understand things. Or like, this didn't go this certain way. Like, how can I get it to go this specific way? But now it's like, hey, like it didn't go out this way because God probably has something. He's redirecting me somehow. Or it's going to figure itself out. It's one of my first times at Crew. I started building community at VU. And one of the girls saying, like, she knew she wanted to be a chef. I forget her name at this moment. But she wanted to be a chef, but she went to school anyway to, I think, be maybe in dentistry. Anyway, she went to school in a different route. And at the end of the day, she ended up becoming a chef, which was like her passion. But she followed what she was told she should do in terms of going to school and all the things. And she realized that even though this was the path that God always had for her, he still used all those years she went around, went to school, did all the other things, all the things she had to learn. He still used that time, even though she ended up right where she needed to be, right? And so I think that creates a lot of pieces. Like, even if you thought you were supposed to go straight, but then you went left, right, left, he's going to use all of that, right, for a purpose. And you might be reaching people in a certain way during your time. So I agree. I think it does bring a lot of peace. And for someone who spent a lot of time overthinking before, it's big.
No, 100%. What you just explained is something that I just made a video on because I actually saw it. And it's like life is like a GPS, right? Sometimes God uses your life as a GPS, and when you go, whatever you're trying to build, whatever your dream is, when you're driving, right, and you make a detour or there's a detour or you miss the exit, the GPS just turn off.
Yeah,
it says redirecting.
Yep.
Recalculate, and that's how we kind of gotta look at our lives. It's like, sometimes we're gonna still end up there, but God will sometimes redirect you or recalculate, and sometimes it's for our own good, and sometimes that can mean it takes longer for a pruning season to happen, and sometimes that can mean, you're in traffic. Let me go take you on the express lane. Yeah, and just all of a sudden, like, these things just happen. Yeah, and so that's kind of how I look at that part as well. So. That's good.
Yeah. Listen, when I said yes, when I was like, okay, God, I'm going to leave my job. And I remember I went to the office. I don't listen to podcasts ever, like when I work. And that day I was like, I should listen to a podcast. So I was like, that's weird. So I turned on this podcast and it was like, and now I listen to this podcast all the time. It's called The Niche Is You. And he's like, how to know when it's time to leave the career, the job, the relationship. And I'm listening to this podcast. I'm laughing because I just had this like, it's the time to leave. Like, you're going to be leaving even sooner now. And I'm cracking up. Then I found out he's a Christian, right? And I didn't even know that. I was like, how interesting that I don't ever listen to podcasts. I get this urge to like listen to a podcast at work. I was there super early too. And this just happens to be the episode. So I think you get these like funny messages sometimes. You just have to like go with it. And I think from that day when I was like, all right, God, like we're going to do this together, so many things started happening. I started getting more speaking opportunities. As things like way in advance. It was just boom, boom, boom. So sometimes it's for you to say yes. Like, sometimes you just have to say the yes, and then you get moved to the express lane.
No, I get it. I think when people say yes, man, it not only does something for you, but it unlocks other people's yes as well. I think every time you say yes to something, especially when God is involved, it allows people to say, man, if that person could do it, I can do it, because everybody relates to somebody different, and your yes unlocks other people's yes. Yeah. And that's something that I will always believe and always, take hold of me. But I have another question for you before we kind of wrap it up. Yeah. This is actually a great conversation so far.
I know, this is going so good.
I told you did great. Yeah. If there was one thing that you haven't done yet in your life, that you want to do, accomplish, whatever that looks like, what is that one thing for you?
The one thing I want to do in life, I want to buy a multi-family property because I want to invest in real estate. Something I haven't done yet that I really want to do. My dad owned a construction company growing up, so I've always been around like the real estate world. And I just think that there's so much opportunity to build something that is not only just about money, especially what's going on in Puerto Rico. Like I'd love to buy property in Puerto Rico and have some of the homes like stay at the traditional rent prices so that people can afford to live in the neighborhoods that they're now getting kicked out of. Maybe take one unit and do an Airbnb or, kind of like have a multi-use, like something that's going to keep the community where it is, keep the traditions alive, but also like obviously make profit in a different way using that. So that's what I would love to do, is like use real estate to help people that need their homes.
All right.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's a good episode. Good job. Good job, friend.
Trying to high five you. I have some mic. Imagine able to hit me.
Yeah. So I guess that's it for today. And I would say just, make sure you stay tuned in so you don't get tuned out. Yeah. Oh. If you love the episode, we would love that you leave a review, 5 stars, on any of the platforms that you are listening to or hearing this episode at or watching this episode on. We love you and see you soon. Make sure you stay tuned in so you don't get tuned out.